Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast, the number one source for news, analysis, and discussion on the Detroit Red Wings, the NHL, and all things hockey. Here are your hosts, Ryan Hanna, Brad Crisco, and Evan Lopsinger.
The amount of joy I had tweeting at the Steve Dangle podcast crew, making the Red Sabres dig with the Detroit Red Wings at the top of the Atlantic and the Toronto Maple Leafs at the bottom of the Atlantic. Like, I actually almost tweeted that at like 2:30 in the morning, whenever that game ended, Eastern time. And then I was like, no, I need them to see this. And I scheduled myself a reminder to send it out the next morning. And I got more than a few replies saying, like, it's still early, don't jinx it, like, they're not going to end up there in the end, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you don't need to tell me how far a Red Wings season can fall. But if they're our friends, you know, this is all friendly banter. If they're going to call the Red Wings the Red Sabres in the season preview, you know I'm screenshotting that standings page 500 times, setting it as my wallpaper, and putting it in every picture frame in my house the moment I have the ability to do so. There's no jinx involved, folks. It's been 10 years of this. Like, if they're bad, they're going to be bad. If things are going to go crazy, we're going to talk later about the way the Atlantic is positioned. Like, certainly these standings are not locked in. But that one was fun. That was a fun one to do.
You got to enjoy it in the brief windows you can.
I like the strat there, Brad. You just play it cool.
Yeah, it's fine for now. Enjoy it.
Well, that was an insane game that we all watched. I don't think anyone could have predicted that ending. And
really?
Yeah.
Couldn't have predicted it.
Well, and obviously I'm talking about the Red Wings coming back to life against the LA Kings when everyone thought it was over in overtime.
The Red Wings internet was hilarious for about 15 minutes because half the people were yelling about the collapse and the other 50% of people were celebrating a chaotic win.
There's people who were finding out the next morning. Like, they were genuinely, like, someone had tweeted at Prashant or something, and they were like, oh, like, such a disappointing way to lose. And it was like, oh, you're going to want to check the score,
Good news
man.
for you, pal.
All right, folks. Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast, here to talk to you about all things Detroit Red Wings hockey, the world of the NHL, and lots more. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Hanna.
I'm Brad Crisco.
And I'm Evan.
This episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast is presented by Greenlight Lending. Red lights are meant for lighting the lamp at the rink, not your home ownership goals. Head to gogreenlightlending.com today for creative mortgage solutions with flexible closing cost options. Licensed only in Michigan, NMLS 2676683, and equal housing opportunity lender. On this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast, we're going to be talking about the two Detroit Red Wings games that have happened on their road trip since the last time we spoke. We are recording Sunday morning, so this is before the Sunday night San Jose Sharks game. And then we're going to be talking about storylines from the Red Wings, what's upcoming for the rest of the road trip, the season, and a early look at the standings, NHL news, and more before we jump into overtime. Very quickly, Winged Wheel Podcast Night at the LCA, Saturday, November 15th, is coming up. It's the Red Wings vs. Sabres game. And if you go to wingedwheelpodcast.com/Red Wings to get your tickets, you not only get tickets to that game at a discounted rate, you also get access to the pregame live recording of the Winged Wheel Podcast at Little Caesars Arena, featuring special guests like Ken Daniels, Rob Ray, and other special guests. You also get a Detroit Red Wings and Winged Wheel Podcast officially co-branded Centennial-themed blanket, other merch, giveaways, prizes, opportunity for meet and greet, and lots more. And every ticket purchase represents a donation to the Jamie Daniels Foundation. So again, wingedwheelpodcast.com/Red Wings. And as always, if you want to help us make things like Winged Wheel Podcast Night possible and support the show, you can join the Dub Club on Patreon, patreon.com/Winged Wheel Podcast for a ton of extra benefits. More on that later. All right, let's jump into the first of the two Red Wings games. And that was the LA Kings on the road, where Detroit won. They were up 2 goals with 5 minutes left, and Detroit won the game. And that's all I'll say about it. It was a 4-3 shootout win, the Red Wings over the Kings, and it was a wild affair. I think before we go through the details of the game, I think we just have to cover how that game, from the Kasper goal onwards, ended. Marco Kasper scored his second goal of the game with just over 5 minutes left in the third. And Detroit was doing well. Like, I felt like that was a pretty good game considering the context of where they were, the travel and everything, the miles they've had on them recently. And then LA with the extra attacker scores, not even just LA, Corey Perry, of all people, ends up on the score sheet twice in like 40 seconds. And the Kings shock everyone and tie the game and send it to overtime. Like that was absolutely, I'm not going to say like it seemed impossible. Like it happens in hockey, but that was a gut punch considering how much it looked like Detroit was controlling that game.
It was like having the bases loaded with one out in the bottom of the ninth. Like you expect a win. You know, the champagne's on ice, the Bud Lights are on ice. You're basically penciling in a win at that point.
And then the team from LA starts to break your heart. Man. You head into overtime, and Byfield and the Kings, who have been a problem all night, they put one in overtime, and you're like, yeah, that's what you expected. It's a 4-3 loss, and with that momentum shift, you just don't know how the Red Wings are going to come back from that. Like, they went on the PK in overtime, Detroit. It was not going to go well. They score. The Red Wings are leaving the ice. Cam Talbot breaks his stick. He'd had a great game. He obviously wanted to beat his former team. He breaks his stick in the tunnel. And then I didn't even see it on the broadcast. There's a text in the chat. I think it was Max. Is like, oh my God, this might come back. And I was like, what? He's obviously at the arena. And I look up and there's like, hold on. They're reviewing this. And then sure thing. So Kevin Fiala skating through the crease and makes a ton of contact with Cam Talbot. That goal is called back on goalie interference, and the LA Kings do not win the game. Goes to a shootout. Lucas Raymond, not 100%, didn't stop him from scoring a beautiful shootout goal. Cam Talbot flashes the leather and makes critical saves, and the Red Wings end up winning in a shootout in one of the most bizarre finishes I've seen for the Red Wings in a while, which is saying something because there's been a few of those, it feels like, of late.
There's been some adventures in the final few minutes of Red Wings games. This is true. Thankfully, we all, roll our eyes and gripe and moan about the goalie interference rule, except when it plays in our favor. And I think this is one of those, because the debate online after was intense, and I want to talk about it, at least for the 3 Kings fans that might be listening right now, because this is one of those, you're having one of 2 arguments, but you can't have both at the same time. How the rule is enforced, and do you actually like what the rule is? Because by the rule and how it's enforced, if you skate into the crease of your own volition and make any, not in a certain way, any contact with the goalie directly before a goal, it doesn't count. That has been the firmly established baseline of this review process. We've seen some really ticky-tack calls because of this, where a guy skates into the crease, his skate gently brushes the skate of the goalie, no goal. Why? Because he went into the crease on his own. Now, if you have a gripe with that rule, I have all the time in the world to have that conversation, because I don't like that rule. I hate that rule. What Kevin Fiala did not prevent Cam Talbot from making that save in any fashion. That goal was going in no matter what, because where Talbot's momentum was taking him, where that puck ended up, contact or no contact, that puck was going in the net. But that's not how they've called the rule. The standard is the standard, and by what the standard is, that's no goal.
Yeah.
I would like them to rewrite the rule book, because to be a little more along the lines of, did you actually prevent the goalie from making the save, not just did you make contact with the goalie? But then you get into even more gray areas. So the black and white of it all, this is how the rule's written, this is how it's enforced. And, first replay, you could watch that and go, that is not going to stand.
Yeah, like, it's 100% right. You can not like it, but then if you move towards the gray area point of it, we've seen how bad these calls can get if you try to get into that level of subjectivity. There was a call that I would have complained about if I was a Kings fan in that game, and that was Marco Kasper's first goal, which we'll talk about in a little bit here. I was like, that looked like a high stick to me. I don't know. I get that it was inconclusive, and you need to have a lot of evidence to overturn the goal, and fundamentally, I understand that. But like, that's the one as a Kings fan where I'm like, no, that's where they actually got jobbed. That was goalie interference. It was goalie interference the same way the ball was wedged under the padding in the outfield, and that was a ground rule double. Still, like, I'm almost surprised it wasn't caught more in real time, and I think it was just because Red Wings fans were expecting it. But regardless, they got the win. To actually go over the details of the game, Detroit ends up starting out the game giving up a shorthanded goal. So they go on the power play, and they allow the first goal of the game shorthanded. Not great.
God, is that shades of last year or what?
And LA actually has, I think, a good handful so far of shorthanded goals, relatively speaking, to where they are in the season. So this is a team that's good at what they're doing. But then the power play went to work after. First was Alex DeBrincat, like not even a minute after that, scores from Raymond and Seider, and it was just another patented, Raymond to DeBrincat high-low play on the power play, and DeBrincat scores his third goal in 3 games. Looks like the floodgates truly are opening for him. And then Marco Kasper, as I mentioned, that tip-in goal that looked like a high stick, but it stood after review, so inconclusive. It looked like it was just like centimeter or inch perfect. And Marco Kasper tips in an Axel Sandin-Pellikka shot, Kopp on the assist, and Detroit goes up 2-1. And in the third, Kasper scores a gorgeous goal that starts with DeBrincat making a great play, skiing the puck up along the left boards. It kind of does a pivot body fake thing, moves the puck up, and then gets it to Appleton. Appleton with a stellar pass back to Kasper, who essentially just had to tap it in motion to get his second of the game, third of the season. And every one of those guys, I think, was notable in that play. First off, DeBrincat, who's just been lights out, I think, and the goals have started to come, but he's been making plays like that all year. Appleton, I stand well corrected on Appleton so far because, from my viewings of him with the Jets and from talking to people in the Jets world, it was like, yeah, he's going to be a guy your team leans on when you need someone to slot up due to injury, but he really doesn't have the ability the way you might want him to. I don't know. Like, I've seen Appleton do not just what the Red Wings signed him for, which is that depth checking role and being like a solid guy down there, but he has surpassed even the organization's expectations in terms of what he's doing when he's, playing in any sort of offensive capacity. Like, I've talked to people from the organization. They're like, we weren't expecting this. Like, we weren't expecting that run with Raymond out initially. We weren't expecting, plays like that pass to Marco Kasper. It's early, and I'm not trying to proclaim him to be, the next Selke winner, but really pleasantly surprised by Appleton so far this season. A really nice story.
Hey, this is what happens when you get good players from good teams. The baseline for what a depth player looks like is a lot higher.
I think that's what we forget, honestly. When we were looking at that, it's like, but the thing is, like, Detroit has brought in good players from good teams before, and it hasn't always worked that way. But Appleton just seems to be that kind of guy with a capital G.
Yeah, he's quick. He's got enough hockey IQ. Again, his skill's not off the charts or anything like that, but you can have a lot of success with simple.
Yeah.
And that seems to be what his formula is. You just play fast, play hard. When you see the pass, make the pass. When you see the shot, take the shot. And again, it's boring, lazy analysis, but that's basically what Appleton's been doing. Like, how many times have you seen him toe drag a guy or go through? So he doesn't. It's not his game. But the Red Wings, the big thing with Appleton for me, where he stands out, is the Red Wings have been a very, very slow team for a long time. And not just his skating, but just his pace. Like, he's always in everything. He's doing something, and he's doing it quickly. Even when he caught that pass back door, he had no angle for anything there. And how many guys would just double clutch that and end up going for a wraparound or circling up in the corner waiting for a good play? Is like
a lot of guys in the Red Wings.
Yeah, and he made the right play. It's like, okay, in that scenario, he probably doesn't have enough time to look up and see Kasper there, but seeing the play unfolding, probably knew there's a reasonable chance if I can get this to the front of the net that he's going to win that race. And he did it. And there it is, just a nice, quick, simple play.
And then Marco Kasper, like, who needed a game where the pucks were going in and, the plays were turning out for him more than Marco Kasper that game? Like, he's been playing well. And I think both Prashant and Max had talked about it on previous episodes. Like, he's not been bad. The lack of production hasn't been because he's been awful. I don't think he's been, his peak Marco Kasper that we've seen, but he's certainly not been a problem on the ice. And when that review upheld his goal, like the zoom in on him in the bench, like how happy he was just a little, let's go. Like, you could tell that kid, he needed that goal. And you hope it's like a DeBrincat situation now where it starts to just exhale. Like, you're a young player with a big role in this league. Like, you're obviously gripping the stick tight. You're obviously nervous. You obviously want to contribute, and you're starting to get a little bit anxious. It's nice to see those go in, and hopefully he can release some of that anxiety and just, play his game and trust his game now.
It's a little bit more difficult when you don't have a Hall of Famer on your wing.
Yeah.
Patrick Kane, although, Father Time is catching up with him, he still commands a lot of respect on the ice. And Marco Kasper probably gets passes he never even thought were possible. So when you have Patrick Kane out of the lineup and you've got someone revolving on your wing, it's hard to find the chemistry, hard to find the production on the fly. But yeah, Marco Kasper's been just fine so far, given the fact that he's playing second line center in his sophomore season, trying to avoid the sophomore slump.
Yeah, like, you're not wrong with, like, injuries are going to hurt guys who are older more for sure. But it's funny when you say Father Time is catching up to Patrick Kane. Because I like the start of the season and the end of last season, I'm like, he's aging,
at the start of the season,
better?
I was like, could be a point per game player.
Yeah, like
he still could.
Very well, yeah. We'll give a Kane update in a little bit here, but he's obviously wasn't in for the Kings game and not for the Anaheim game either. And yeah, so that was Detroit's 3-1. The end of the game where LA went, 2 goals really quickly. Like, it's not anything where you're going to, sound the alarms for, it's not like the loss against Buffalo or the Islanders to me. But that is still something where you're not wrong, Evan. That was shades of, I know you're talking about that with the shorthanded goal to lead off the game, but that was shades of previous Red Wings. And you could see McLellan talk about it. Like, you're happy to have the win. You didn't give up an extra point to an Eastern Conference team at the very least. You would have liked the regulation win, but you're going to take the 2 points. This time of year, you're not going to complain about those things. But that's something that the Red Wings do need to clean up. Now, the LA Kings were coming on very strong. That is a good hockey team. They've really turned it around after a bit of a slow start. And my God, is Quinton Byfield really turning out as a player as well. Like, that guy is a problem for other teams. And as a hockey fan, I'm happy to see it. But as a Red Wings fan, you're watching that night, you're like, oh my.
Glad it's in LA.
Yeah. By the skin of their teeth, they escaped that game, but you'll take it.
Yeah, the Red Wings were, when you talk about your golf game and you're like, yeah, I had no idea what I'm doing, but it's June.
Yes.
So it's not a problem right now. If this was August or September, I'd be freaking out. That's how I kind of feel about the Red Wings. There's a lot of refining in how they need to finish out games and how they need to minimize some easy mistakes. But, we're 12 games into this thing. It's not going to be perfect. Just enjoy the wins when they come.
The difference is the Red Wings actually won that game, and you and I
I'm on the road looking for my ball.
Yeah, we choked away our cut line making the number guess.
Hey, I had a good golf year. I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, you saved it at the bell with new dad strength.
That's right.
Yeah. It was looking to be a horrific year before
I brought Yamamoto out of the pen. To really solidify my season.
Yeah, and you have the same amount of money as the LA Dodgers owner too. So,
yeah, I do.
Oh my God, I hate the trophies going to owners. I think the NHL does the best, but I actually watched that last night. I'm like, no, that one's fair. That's their MVP.
Yeah,
right
when
there.
you're dropping a bill every year to win titles, yeah, maybe it should go to you.
Oh God, this episode's bonus overtime is going to be a good one. All right, so that was the Red Wings. They won their 3rd straight, huge on the road. Like, what a phenomenal start to the road trip. How they got there, notwithstanding, like, that was a great result. They have Anaheim the next night. Quickly, though, before that, the guy who was called up wasn't Nate Danielson. They didn't end up getting Patrick Kane back. They thought maybe we'll get him towards the latter half of the road trip. Wasn't to be. He's still, out with an upper body injury. I got, yelled at for implying that he was going to be out a little bit longer, even though he was skating casually, but he was skating casually. He was skating because it was an upper body injury and he's keeping his legs fresh. He wasn't, taking line rushes in practice with the team. Like, this is not a guy who's out there, going full contact, leading up to this road trip. So I was saying, I don't think it's going to be a forever thing, but I'm wondering how day-to-day this injury is going to be. And do you want to play it safe with someone of Patrick Kane's age, especially if Detroit's going to make a run this season? As Evan said, he's a big difference maker on that line. You swallow a few games now so you can have him in game 82. They're calling someone up. We talked last episode, Carter Mazur's injured. People were wondering, is this Nate Danielson's time? The extra body with the team is actually Austin Watson. Now, it didn't suit up against Anaheim, but he is the guy who's called up. And I mean, some people may have been surprised. I didn't try to pin it one way or the other, which way the team would go. And you look at the way things have shaken out for the Red Wings. I'm not terribly surprised by the decision making in the end. I think it makes sense. I think you just needed to go for, the default backup option. Maybe you were looking at Trouba and Gudas and you're like, we need some grit and muscle in there. Or maybe you're like, if there's a injury to the bottom six, I'd rather have a guy who can just come in there and hang on a tough road trip where the guys are going to be grinding and there's going to be gas legs and things like that. And Austin Watson's not, a superstar by any means, but he can go out there and spark some energy for the team. So between that, and then I assume they just wanted Nate Danielson to have more time in Grand Rapids to continue to, ramp things up to get up to NHL speed and maybe not throw him into the fray on the road with a team that's not full support around him. I understood.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Watson didn't even play against Anaheim. How would everybody have reacted if that was Danielson in the press box instead? And the Griffins had games this weekend. The Griffins have run into problems too, if you want to just look at them for a bit, about their veteran maximums and how many they can play per game. Well, if you're going to have to sit out a vet, you might as well sit him out with the Wings and get Danielson into the lineup and get him more reps. He's coming off an injury. He might not even be 100% yet for all we know. He's looked good, but he hasn't had exactly a long run in Grand Rapids since coming back. And I honestly, I like Watson for the physicality that he brings. He does have an element that the Wings are sorely lacking, but he doesn't have the skill set to be a game changer. But yeah, if something goes off the rails and they need a spark and they need to go out there and punch some faces, he's as good as any. But yeah, if he's not going to play a lot, I'd rather that be Watson than Danielson. I'd rather Danielson be playing 20 minutes in Grand Rapids than 8 to 0 minutes in Detroit, especially in the middle of a road trip with travel and all that stuff. That would have been an impossible situation for Danielson to come in. You go into camp, you get hurt, you don't play to start the season, you get 3-4 games under his belt by this point now. Oh, and now you got to fly out to the West Coast, play. But again, I am very impatient, we'll call it, with how long I want to wait to see Danielson in Detroit. But in this scenario, I think it was the right call to bring up a vet instead.
So Detroit heads into Anaheim. John Gibson's return to the Ducks organization, but this time on the other side of the ice. Evan, worthy of the montage video? Oh, come on, man.
He's been there long enough, drafted by them, right? I think you got to do something.
Your line on what deserves a tribute video is you have such a high bar, man.
Oh, well, when they start doing them for random fourth line guys who played less than 100 games for the franchise, the bar needs to be higher than what it should be.
500 games as your number one guy.
Okay, that's probably that's a lot of games.
The barometer should be, now that he's starting to heat up for Dallas, does Adam Ernie get one when he comes back to Detroit?
Oh man,
I say they shut down Woodward and do a police escort to the game.
For Ernie, they probably do. Shooter. There's the amount of replies when Ernie scored that goal. And we all tweeted about it.
I
People
was
were like,
wondering why I all of a sudden had a bunch of notifications. I'm like, something serious or comical has happened.
and the answer was serious.
Yes.
But the amount of people who were like, I didn't know Adam Ernie was still in the league. And I'm like, you're missing out, man. That's the real story of the season. Detroit goes into Anaheim, and spoiler, it was a 5-2 loss. But I'll tell you, like, there's no such thing as a good loss. I think that's a loser mentality. And there's no such thing as, expecting a loss and being okay with it. That's a loser mentality. But I think there is such thing as understanding when a loss is most likely to happen and when there's just one. Someone mentioned to me this word, you look at it, you burn the script, you forget it. And that's what this game was to me. Like that, what didn't feel like a 5-2 loss. It felt like it very well could have gone the other way with a few bounces, the same way other Red Wings games have gone this year. And certainly Anaheim played well. I think, Leo Carlsson was on display. A lot of the Ducks were showcasing why that's an upcoming team, as we talked about in season previews. But Detroit wasn't terrible. This wasn't the Sabres game. This wasn't the Islanders game. And I had no problem with on the second leg of a back-to-back on the road on the West Coast, like across a few time zones. You're not going to win all 82. This is one where you're like, yeah, I get it.
This was the Montreal game, just with an actual excuse baked in of travel and a back-to-back.
I think they played better this game than they did against Montreal. Oh, actually, no, the Montreal game, yeah, that's another thing where the score kind of makes you forget. For a little while there, it was looking pretty good.
Yeah, the Red Wings badly outshot Montreal that game. They couldn't get a timely save, and they had too many brain farts that game, and that's what the Anaheim game felt like me. Especially off the rush. Man, their rush defense sucks. And not everyone resulted in a goal.
What year is it? Yeah.
I know. The Red Wings in transition, their defense.
It's also tough when they turn the puck. The Red Wings have a bad habit of turning the puck over at either blue line.
This is true as well.
The time you have to transition to playing defense is even smaller.
Yeah. Again, I felt like they played fine. I felt like there weren't many goals where you could blame Gibson, but there was a couple where it's like, wish he would have got that. Would have been nice.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's gonna happen. I'd say it's a young team. What do you expect? But you kind of get the same result from some of the veterans on the team too. So I don't want to write that off as an excuse. But yeah, you control play for a good chunk of the game, and you just make some pretty stupid mistakes at inopportune times. And when you stack enough of those on top of each other, it can ruin a good game. And that, like I said, same thing kind of happened in the Montreal game. Same thing kind of happened here.
So the last game, Detroit allowed a goal on special teams, but it wasn't their PK. Their penalty kill was perfect against the Kings. Phenomenal game. Like that was just as much a reason for the win as Cam Talbot was. They allowed a goal shorthanded to open the game against the Kings. The Anaheim Ducks, they allow a goal shorthanded to give the Ducks the early lead. And you're like, okay, so that's...
It's a strategy choice.
For sure, yeah. It's an interesting one. The Red Wings power play is all goals, all situations.
Yes.
Either end of the ice, someone's scoring. And Detroit ends up tying it, Lucas Raymond. And again, a play that starts with DeBrincat, nice pass to Larkin, nice pass to Raymond, who Larkin springs up the right side on a partial break there, and Raymond makes no mistake. Raymond, who is still not... You can tell when he shoots and really leans on a shot or tries to, you can see it's not there. But he's also, as the games go on, finding a way to work around that, and he made no mistake on that shot either. Think about the shootout winner and then that goal as well. I'm like, this is Lucas Raymond at 75, 80%? Like, this guy's a problem for the rest of the league. 2-1 because of Leo Carlsson, and we thought the next goal was Moritz Seider. 2-2, putting in the rebound, a puck that went off his skate. It looked like he redirected with his skate up to his stick, and it kind of flubbed in. Goes to replay. His stick never touched it. And then they're like, okay, we're looking to see if this was a kick, a distinct kicking motion. My same thing I always say to you two. If I'm being biased, if these are Red Wings tinted glasses, just tell me. I didn't see enough to overturn a goal to call that a distinct kicking motion for Moritz Seider. I saw a skate redirect. The Anaheim broadcast was saying they didn't see a kick. If they had called it off because of a kick beforehand, I'd say, okay, I understand because that was the call on the ice. But the call on the ice, it it looked like a goal. Like, how are you going to take that away? I didn't see that at all. I did not see distinct kicking motion. I've seen worse stand. To me, the refs got that one flat out wrong. And it's not why the Red Wings lost, but it certainly changed the course of a game that wasn't a blowout.
I want to make a bigger point here because it comes up a lot. And when you see instances like this in a game, it's probably at least worth mentioning, not getting into a deep conversation on. For a league that spends so much time preaching that, offense is what brings fans in, we want to change the rules to get more goals, offense, they sure do find a lot of stupid reasons to take goals off the board. Again, I understand not wanting to go in the gray area, but a centimeter offside reviews, ticky-tack goalie interference. And again, if the call on the ice for this one was no goal, I would be very not happy, but I would be very understanding if it stays with the call on the ice.
I would still be mad. I'd say it's the wrong call, but I would understand how the review went.
Yeah, okay, review's not definitive, but like you have enough to overturn it. That's the thing. Overturn. Again, and I said earlier in this episode, if I wrote the rule book, that overtime goal the Kings scored would stand. So I hope I'm coming across as not biased here, but if I wrote the rule book, this would stand. Like, this league, everybody's always worried about goal scoring anytime it dips even a little bit. How much of that is just a result of this league taking goals off the board for no super justifiable reason? It never ends to irk me.
Yeah, that one, the Red Wings never really found their footing the way they've been able to play this year after that goal was called back. And it ended up being Mason McTavish putting in a 3-1 goal after that. So instead of 2-2, you end up with 3-1. That is a colossal momentum swing in a quick period of time. And was it that the Red Wings are gassed and it was a back end of that back-to-back on the West Coast that I talked about? Probably that more than anything, but it just looked like it sucked the life out of the Red Wings. And as a team, you have to be able to get past that. You really do. Like, you can't let those things take over. But at the same time, yeah, I don't know. That one was it was a frustrating call to see. I do think the Ducks were the better team over the course of the game. Like, Detroit went 1 for 7 on the power play, and you're just not going to win a lot of games when you have that many opportunities and you don't capitalize. And Detroit did get back within 1. It was Alex DeBrincat on the power play, 4th goal in 4 games. So again, the floodgates are opening, and you can see he is being rewarded for the consistent, solid play. Quick hands in front from Raymond and Seider once again. And in the third, it was the Ducks on the power play. So Detroit's penalty kill with a rare concession there, as that was Gibson pushing the net off its moorings intentionally. Whether you like the rule or not, like it's how it's meant to be applied. If the net is pushed off intentionally and you can determine the puck was going to go in, then you call it a goal. So that's what happens. The Ducks go up by 2 and then they score on the empty net. It ends up a 5-2 game. But it was one of those losses where you're like, all right, that's where it's going to come in the schedule. That's how it's going to play out. There's things in there that frustrate you, but it's not the end of the world to me.
As long as you don't follow it up with a loss to the lowly San Jose Sharks.
Oh, hold on. We're recording this before the Sharks game.
I know.
Dear listener, you know how we're going to feel tomorrow.
We've been hurt before. We've seen this script where everything's going roses and then the San Jose Sharks somehow ruin our week.
You know what? I'll take the San Jose loss, but Vegas win. I think that'd be funny.
That feels like something the Red Wings would do.
Yeah. It's just like an NHL result right there. Detroit takes that loss, breaks a 3-game win streak. And again, we're recording this Sunday morning. So upcoming before next episode, we have the San Jose Sharks tonight, Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And then Tuesday, November 4th, 10 p.m. Eastern against the Vegas Golden Knights. And then we're back with you on Wednesday. So we'll see how the Red Wings round out the road trip. Honestly, like, having had 2 wins already, if they eke out 1 more win, I'm like, that's a positive result. Evan, I think you said before the road trip, if you go 500, just in terms of points percentage.
I've seen some terrible West Coast road trips in the past. So, if you can go, 500, I think you're probably happy with that.
Hey, by the time you're listening to this, you'll probably know. And we'll talk about it more Wednesday More on the Red Wings and their season and other storylines, but first, a word from the sponsors of the Winged Wheel podcast. Back after this. You ever see yourself in the mirror after a long week and think, man, I've lost a bit off the top, not just in the standings? Yeah, hair loss hits harder than a blue line stand-up sometimes, but the good news is it's something you can actually do something about. That's where Hims comes in. Hims provides access to licensed medical providers who can help you find what works for your hair loss, all online, no awkward face-to-face visits in some waiting room where you're pretending to read old magazines. They've got access to clinically proven ingredients where, if prescribed, they can help stop further hair loss and even regrow hair in as little as 3 to 6 months. And the whole thing's straightforward. No hidden fees, no surprises, just personalized care that fits your schedule. So if you're ready to get back in the game and start feeling like yourself again, let Hims help you out. For simple online access to personalized and affordable care for hair loss, ED, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/wingedwheel. That's hims.com/wingedwheel for your free online visit. hims.com/wingedwheel. Individual results may vary based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil and finasteride. Featured products include compounded drug products, which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety information. Welcome back. It is only a dozen games in, so I am not making any proclamations. We're not on Thanksgiving yet, or as Canadians call it, second Thanksgiving yet, so that's an arbitrary benchmark, although Brad, you were saying beforehand, before we were recording, that November 1st is actually a new statistical benchmark. But the Red Wings, as of right now, are 8-4-0. They have 2/3 of their points achieved by points percentage this season so far. Second in the Atlantic, behind the Montreal Canadiens, who have one more win. And things are going well. Like, we've talked a lot about it. We've seen Red Wings hot streaks before, where you're like, this is the same team that has the same flaws, and they're doing the same things that are problematic, but someone is on a run hot, or some goalie is absolutely lights out right now, or something is going extremely well. And I'm not saying that's not happening at all for the Red Wings, but we are also seeing them play the game a lot more efficiently and effectively, not consistently, because I think, at least a couple of those losses were some pretty bad performances, but way more than we've seen them play in the past. And that has inspired confidence to say, if you add this level of good play onto the teams we saw from the past, who came within, a whisker of a playoff berth, you can understand the optimism for the playoffs. Very, very, very early conversation. So we're not making any proclamations. We're not doing what we've done in the past, which was in March, but I digress. Even the analytical models, who I think add in a lot of the historical context of previous season Red Wings and is maybe holding them back from, I think, what they should truly be projected for. Even they have the Red Wings as a greater than 50% chance of making the playoffs as of now. Some of them do, I've seen at least. Is this real? Is it too early to tell if it's real? Do you have more hope than in the past or for previous hot streaks? Where are you at on the fact that even the league is buying into this a little bit?
It's hard to say. I know you referenced the one stat we were talking about, and to let everybody know, it's the whole reason why I don't want to get, too over my skis here. Because the new November benchmark that a lot of analysts have shown over the years is any team that is more than 4 points out of a playoff spot, only 4 points, that's it, by November 1st, 75-ish% don't make the playoffs. That's a very high percentage for such a small point amount this early in the season. So obviously November 1st rolls around and I want to go check to see, okay, who are the teams in the East that are really on the outs? Every single team in the Eastern Conference is within 4 points of a playoff spot or in a playoff spot.
Actually, Brad, every team in
the Eastern Conference is at or above 500.
The New York Islanders, who are dead last in the East, are within 3 points of a playoff spot.
Within 3. And they're at 500 points percentage.
Yes.
This is one. As a hockey fan, this is beautiful. When you talk about you want parity in the league, this is what it should look like. Everybody in the Eastern Conference is in it right now. As a Red Wings fan, the reason I hate this, every team in the Eastern Conference is in this right now.
Yeah, as an NHL fan, it's parity. As a Red Wings fan, this is parity. Like, this is...
Yeah. They finally are playing to a point and giving us enough reasons to go, this is real. And the rest of the conference is like, don't get comfortable. So the two schools of thought to look at this for me. Yes, what the Red Wings are doing is real. They have put up this record without a lot of luck and without every single one of their top guns going. Because, you look at certain players on this team and are they going to be this good all year? No. But then you look at other players on this team. Are they going to be this poor all year? Obviously, relatively speaking, I'm not saying they're all playing bad, but no. Like, I don't think most Seider's recorded a 5-on-5 point yet this year. Obviously, that's not sustainable. I don't expect Dylan Larkin to score at a 200-point pace all season. So things are going to balance out, which is what makes me believe it's sustainable. And we haven't seen a true run hot from the goalies yet. Gibson had that period against Tampa Bay. Talbot had that game against Toronto, and they've been okay.
I think Talbot's actually been done right good to start the season, but that's what we expect from him.
But the way the NHL goes is usually most teams at some point in the season get a run hot from their goalies and they steal a few games they shouldn't have. That could still be on the horizon for the Red Wings. So I think all things balance out. You look at the Red Wings, they might not be 8-4 good, but they're good. They're definitely in the playoff mix. But the only reason I'm not getting too ahead of going, yeah, it's going to happen this year is every team in the East is still in it. And the first few teams to fall off and have a really tough stretch, they're going to be the ones that are out of it. And that could be anybody right now.
Yeah. It's part of what I was talking about earlier, which is like, you're not really worrying about the tiebreakers and the teams around you so much right now. Like, you got to get the points on the board to even put yourself in that situation. So at the end of the day, like, we're not trying to frame this, like what Brad said, it's not framing it as, oh, all hope is lost. The Red Wings won those games, but they don't count for anything. No, they count all the same, right? Like, you still have to continue and you still have to keep it up, but they've done it in a way that doesn't feel like they stole too many of those points, like maybe the Toronto game, but not much else. And you still have the wins when, like, last year, you certainly didn't have the start. So as a Red Wings fan, be happy about that. Be happy about the results and how you got there. But it is funny. Like, there was no favors to start the season for Detroit. Like, the one night where it's like, oh yeah, the Red Wings won, and so did every other team in the Atlantic. The only team in the Atlantic that lost was the Sabres in overtime, who lost to another team from the Atlantic in the Leafs. Like, it's just one of those. That's been the entire first dozen games of the season so far. At least you're keeping pace. You haven't put yourself out of it. And I mean, again, it's early. We've seen how Novembers and Decembers and Januaries have gone in the past. But so far, even with the concerns on the team and the holes that remain in the roster and certain elements that need to be fixed, Detroit has found ways to win games in I don't want to say like all efficient ways, but they've won games. Let's call it ethically. There haven't been too many unethical Red Wings wins. The Leafs one, that was an unethical hockey
and we
win.
took Steve to the game.
That's
so
right.
Yes,
which was funny.
That's when it's allowed to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you guys. Like, I'm seeing a path to sustainable point production or getting points on the board for this team. I think ultimately what this points to me is you have to beat teams in your conference, especially teams in the Atlantic. So when the Red Wings start playing, get off their West Coast road trip and start playing into their conference again, those games are going to matter even more. That will start to decide who are the haves and the have-nots in the Atlantic and in the Eastern Conference. Like, the Red Wings, like, their power play is still good. Like, they're top 10 in the league. Their penalty kill has been good, even though they give up a ton of penalties. And they're getting some timely scoring from various depth players. Like, I can see how this is sustainable.
The big difference for me, at least in terms of this iteration of the Red Wings versus even going back just to last year, is it feels like there's none, if not very few, black holes on this roster. we've talked for years and years about, depth issues and defense issues, and you can circle some guys in pen and go, when they're on the ice, we are in trouble. We are screwed. This is going to be bad. I'm not saying that the Red Wings don't have any of those guys, at least not on a night-to-night basis, but there's fewer of them. Like, you've got an Axel Sandin-Pellikka who comes in here as a rookie, and he's not lighting the world on fire, but he sure as hell doesn't look like he's a problem when he's on the ice. Hamonic, since that rough first game, has been passable, and when he's not in, JBD looks passable. Johansson did not fall off a cliff coming into this year. JVR has been great in a depth role. Just those little, and we talked about Appleton, actually, a perfect example of it, where a guy who he probably replaced last year, pick a guy who sucked. Well, Appleton's good. That's an upgrade. Emmett Finney is an upgrade on whoever was, you want to circle, came off the roster from last year to replace him for this year. And it's all about those incremental upgrades. And we talked a lot in the offseason about the Red Wings didn't set free agency on fire, but every move they made was a positive one, right? It was just, okay, this guy's not a star, but he's better than the guy he's replacing.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like the Red Wings have a lot of those little upgrades on the roster where it doesn't feel like there's a lot of problems on the ice like there were last year. To burn myself here, they don't have Dalton Varsho coming up with the bases loaded and one out where you can write in that's an out. That's going to be a strikeout.
I'm surprised you made it here this morning, man.
I'm so tired.
There are a lot of transfer trucks on the 401. It's like, is that the one?
Yeah.
Is that the one?
That barrier that they put up at the middle's the only reason I made it. But you know what I mean? Like, it's unfortunately a perfect example for how we felt about a lot of players in the roster over the last few years.
Well, how many years have we been saying if the third line or the fourth line could just chip in 10% of the time, the 1 or 2 point difference in the standings, the Red Wings are a playoff team.
I don't even need them to chip in. I just need them to be able to go on the ice and know that this isn't going to be a minute and a half fire drill in their own zone.
Yeah. Where you're guaranteeing the top line a defensive zone start if you survive without getting scored on.
Again, it's the extreme example, but last year, if you saw that third pairing of Justin Hall and Eric Gustafsson jump over the boards, you knew how that shift was going to go.
The puck was in the offensive zone. The forwards just go back to their own zone.
The ref just drops the puck in the net. Like,
we'll save you some time. Give you some time to come back.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen this year. Not that they don't have bad shifts and not that they don't have fire drills, but it's every time a new line or a new pairing jumps over the boards, you're not immediately aware of what's about to happen. It's like, yeah, this shift could be bad, but it could be good.
I think, and the funny thing is I think the answer is so simple. It's like they brought in their young players who are better than the veteran bums that they've had on this team in the past. And they finally made some good free agent acquisitions. It's like 12th times the charm. We finally got some veterans who know how to play hockey.
Yeah. It makes me feel bad for the, stars who used to lead this team in goal scoring who kind of missed this wave of young players. Like Adam Ernie would just thrive on this team.
He would be on a 40-goal pace probably. They'd get him confused with Alex DeBrincat.
You know is a good indicator for what you guys are talking about where like things are better. You're going to hear more or less the same amount of complaints from, not just us, but Red Wings fans. But it's all zeroing in on like the 12th or 13th forward on this roster. Like Rasmussen was terrible last night, or like, look at this awful, missed coverage by, whoever. And, the 6th or 7th defenseman who slotted in had a terrible shift in the second on the long change. And it's like, oh my God, what a privilege where the spots that are most likely to be problems on your roster are the problems on your roster. Like, as you mentioned, Brad, the Red Wings they've been fortunate of their own accord. Like, they deserve credit for it, but they've been fortunate to have the first line left wing slot filled in. Emmett Finney solved that for now. Like, it's looking good. Like, Axel Sandin-Pellikka filled in that second pair right D slot. And for the most part, it's at the very least way better than it was last season. Like, this is different. You're complaining about things that are more normal and sensible to be worried about. And these are the kinds of problems that teams that make the playoffs still have. Like this is
eventually the bar will change.
That's right.
If you are a contender, you probably have a lot more concerns with this lineup than a team just trying to make the playoffs.
Totally. But even
we'll start, baby steps.
The
we
ladder is
gotta
way
crawl
different
before we can sprint.
That's right. Oh man, your life when he starts crawling. That's a wiggly baby.
Yeah.
By the way, I met Sullivan Lobsinger, and I am happy to confirm that the Lobsinger stink eye did not skip a generation.
No.
That kid throws it out.
Yeah, I get it all the time. When I take the bottle away from him, it's like I committed a war crime.
That's right. And he throws his little dukes up too. Like he's going to sock you.
Yeah, we got to get better at nail clipping because he's starting to grab things, and he knows how to use those.
I have to say, it is appropriate that I met Evan's son at a brewery for the first time.
Yeah.
It was half a flight in.
Yeah, it was. You got to start him young. There's non-alcoholics. I did not give my son. I did not give my 2.5-week son alcohol. Let's be very clear on that. He was just sleeping there on the floor.
We found him there. I didn't know you'd be here. Anyways, that's Detroit's standing right now. We'll see how things go. NHL news very quickly. Marty Necas, where this is yet another story of nothing happens in the NHL, except for last year where kind of everything happened related to Necas, actually. But Marty Necas signs 8-year extension in Colorado, $11.5 million cap hit. And that was one that I didn't think was guaranteed. And it looks like Colorado found a way to, they're going to have to pay Makar $11 billion dollars. And it seems like that's what Makar is going to go for. But they found a way to make it work to make sure that they didn't lose their, recovery they hoped from the Rantanen deal.
They could have just signed Rantanen with that money.
Well, Rantanen wasn't taking 11.5. He wasn't going to take 12.
No.
He was. I think he probably, based on the 14 mil ask, like he would have settled for 13, and I still think he would have been worth it.
Didn't he sign for 12?
Yeah, but in a no income tax state.
Fair enough.
And that was like the third team that told him no to $14 million.
Yeah. There was a lot about, where my family wanted to be, and you can never know if that's true or not.
Yeah, Colorado's a terrible place to play hockey.
It seems awful there. But, settled in nice in Dallas. But yeah, Marty Necas does not, because no one ever does, make it to free agency. Colorado locks him up. And that's one where you're like, I don't think he was like a likely contender. But if you're a team like Detroit where you're like trying to add star power, that's probably a guy you had your eyes on.
There's going to be nobody left. Now that he's off the market, Kempe is looking at that contract going, if he's worth that, as a multi-time 30-goal scorer and a one-time 40-goal scorer. Yeah, I think obviously sticker shock is still very much a thing.
Really?
In the reactions.
I saw that, and that one actually seemed appropriate to me. I think I've adjusted a little bit.
No, you have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the majority of people.
Yeah.
The reactions I saw were all over the place. A lot of, well, of course, this is what he got. This is the new reality. And a lot of 11.5 for him. It's the new reality. So as much as, and the one advantage Colorado has with Necas over a lot of these other guys is he's not old.
He's 26.
Exactly. This contract takes him not even basically into his mid-30s, which is very reasonable, and you're not going to get that a lot for a guy going into UFA. So I think Colorado did well here, and obviously Necas did well to get his bag now, because if you told him a year ago he'd be making $11.5 million a year,
like, wow, Carolina's really going to pay me that much?
Did Tom Dundon sell the team?
I think this is a good contract, right? Like, he plays on the top line, which I guess, there's multiple conversations about that when you play with Nathan McKinnon, but they're buying a ton of UFA years. Like, for $11.5 million contract with the cap going where it is, like, this is a great contract to me.
And this is a team that's going to have a situation where, again, the cap going up as much as it is might make it so that you have to throw away this notion a little bit, but it feels like this team is going to be one of those teams where because they're paying Makar,
I feel like Cal
McKinnon's-
Makar is going to be like, give me $5 million. I'll just live in a 400 square foot bedroom. And
do you think so, or do you think, hey, I just gave you probably the most team-friendly contract in the NHL for a good number of years. Now you're going to pay the price?
I don't know, maybe, but he just doesn't seem like he has that like Crosby-esque mentality. And if he backs the Brinks truck up, Nathan McKinnon is going to just like give him the Sullivan Lobsinger death stare.
I think realistically, my prediction for Makar is he's going to get the McKinnon contract. He won't go over McKinnon because those self-imposed team limits. And
you think so?
I think so.
The superstar contracts are just so. Maybe this is just my opinion. Well, I guess it is just my opinion, but they feel just so subjective right now. Like some guys are just like, yeah, I'm good. I'll take a 5-year deal at less money so that we can win now because I see our timeline. And then there's some guys who are like, I will just take a blank check, please.
And there's also this thing around the NHL too, where the PA doesn't want these guys taking discounts because they want the next guy to get paid too. And if too many guys start taking discounts, then that just becomes the bar. Because there's a bit of uproar around the PA world when McDavid took 12.5. And if too many guys do that, then the next guy and the next guy, and then how long is it until it's no longer a hometown discount? It's just the standard, which then impacts everybody else's negotiations. So,
I think that leaves a little bit of money for the other guys on the lineup, right? Like, I think
in theory, yes, but I think GMs will just look at it, go, I got 6 comparables now that say you're not worth as much as you're asking for.
Superstars will still get whatever they want because you cannot lose some of these guys. But I hope that this kind of like, because we were starting to get to a point where it's like teams are paying their 3-4 best players all the money, and then they're just bringing in other guys making a couple $1 million.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see. Like, I don't know.
But Makar is going to be 28 when that contract expires. He actually just turned 27 the other day. And he's certainly done okay. His first contract out of ELC, it was $9 million. And it was still, I think, a discount. Maybe you guys are right, but I wonder if he's not looking at that Kaprizov number saying what you're saying of like, hey, not everyone's going to take these team-friendly deals. And like, I gave this team a lot. I've already paid my dues. Let someone else do it now.
That's why you need a guy like Nathan McKinnon mostly taking discounts, because it sets the precedent for the team to be like, we are not a team where you just come and make a boatload of money. We are a win now, a team that will always be trying to contend.
Well, that's why I think that's what Makar's contract's going to be. McKinnon's a top 2-3 forward in the world. Makar's probably the best defenseman in the world. If he's making $2 million less than McKinnon, that's going to feel weird, considering they're both at the top of their given craft. So the easiest negotiation for everybody involved is I'll have what he's having.
Yeah. He could do that, and I would see the lane. How shocked would you be, though, if he says, my ask is the Kaprizov number?
I would be shocked.
I would be very surprised.
All right. Well, he's not due for his extension yet, but as of July 1. So that's down the road. All right. We're going to take another quick break here, and when we're back, the final segment on this episode of the Win Go podcast back after this. Celebrate a century of Red Wings hockey at Hockeytown Centennial Fan Fest, November 6th to 9th at Motor City Casino Hotel. Experience the ultimate Red Wings celebration, packed with activities for fans of all ages. Meet and mingle with over 50 Red Wings legends and Hall of Famers, including Sergei Fedorov, Scotty Bowman, Nick Lidstrom, Steve Yzerman, Chris Chelios, and so many more. Exclusive merchandise, interactive experiences, skills challenges, autograph sessions, and more. You won't want to miss this once-in-a-lifetime event. Tickets are going fast. Get yours now at DetroitRedWings.com/fanfest now.
We're going to overtime.
Overtime is brought to you by our Patreon supporters, patreon.com/Winged Podcast. If you want to support the show and get access to benefits like our bonus overtime episodes, which record right after these main ones, we let loose, we have fun, we get more thoughts with Evan. So if you think Evan's ever been unhinged on the show, you should see the bonus overtimes. You also get access to our Patreon exclusive Discord, and you're automatically entered into all of our giveaways. Plus, you can sign up for our giveaway for every Detroit Red Wings home game. We give away 2 tickets directly to our Patreon supporters. So again, patreon.com/wingedwheel podcast for all of that and more. Brian Munn says, are there any realistic options to trade for a top 4 left defenseman? And realistically, who would Detroit have to give up to make it happen? So in terms of who's out there distinctly in the market right now, there aren't really names out there. But that's not to say that trades can't happen. It's a little bit obfuscated by the fact that the NHL is a little bit more boring with trades than other pro leagues, but teams aren't really trying to get rid of top 4 defensemen in general, especially with expansion on the horizon and the talent pool maybe thinning out even more. Like, you're going to see some tough defensive cores. There's not really a name that jumps out. You know, in the group chat the other day, a name popped up which I thought was interesting, which was Mikey Anderson from the Kings, and you wonder if that's a fit. But even then, you have to be sure that guy's going to come in and actually make a meaningful difference in your top 4, and not just be replacing something that like Sherratt's doing or whatever it might be.
And that was posted right before the Kings ripped off a bunch of wins.
Yeah,
nobody in the Eastern Conference is available right now because everybody thinks they're in it still.
Yeah, you kind of have to wait until at the very least Christmas time, I think, and then you start to see. Randy from Ontucky says, if the Rangers were to start selling this year, who should the Wings target, and what would you be willing to part with for them? Is Alexis Lafreniere salvageable in your mind for his contract?
Yeah, because again, with the cap going up, he's making what, 7 and change? That's $4 to $5 mil in a couple years under the cap we're used to. I think that's well worth the risk.
Or do you think
he strikes me as the perfect change of scenery guy?
I agree. I do agree.
Get him out of New York.
And that contract just started.
Yeah.
Now the Rangers I wonder how long Panarin is for that team. Because by all rights, he's going to be looking to cash in, sign for as much as he can for as long as he can. And the well seems poisoned in New York. Unless things turn around, I wouldn't be surprised to see some moves there. Like, if their season's done, they gonna want to keep him or they gonna want to trade him? The sensible thing would be to trade him, right?
Yeah, but as much as I think Panarin solves a lot of problems for the Red Wings, the rumors around what he's demanding for a contract coupled with his age and what you'd have to, man, like, I know I'm big on you can't get picky with where the Red Wings are at. I don't think that's one I'm looking at.
I fully agree. I was going to say the same thing. I'm huge on just pay the superstar whatever they need. But 34 years old, and if he wants, like, if you're going to be blowing...
Aaron's 34 years old?
Oh, yeah. The passage of time is wild.
Oh, I'm not interested in that at all.
Yeah, like, he's just going to be asking for too much. If you thought he might take, like, an end-of-career, job the cap...
I'll take Patrick Kane for $2 million or whatever it is over that all day.
Yeah, 100%. I shouldn't say 100%. Panarin's a great player, and he would be such a get. But like for what you'd have to give up, like some other team is going to pay even more. Wings fan of St. Louis, Scott says, I've seen rumors about the Wings being interested in Tuck. What do you think is a fair deal if Buffalo tries to deal him once again and start a rebuild?
Remember how I said everybody in the Eastern Conference is in it right now?
I would not be looking at any team in the Eastern Conference for players to poach.
I don't know. Buffalo's, I really love the idea of, but they're
mostly irrational, but I feel like right now they're like, maybe.
And they're not wrong, right? Like, if you're a Sabres fan and you're like 3 points out and they started offloading Tuck and all these guys, you'd be like,
burn the city to the ground.
Yeah. Okay. Last one here. Cassie says, with your backgrounds, what type of injury would you estimate Kane and Raymond are working through? On a side note, I've never understood why hockey is so hush-hush on the type of injury a player is facing, unlike my experience with other sports.
Because if you tell the media what the injury is, the next team goes out and aggravates that injury.
Yeah.
If you have an ankle injury, people are going to slash said ankle every shift you have.
Remember, was it Draisaitl against Vegas? Vegas couldn't be bothered to even try to make it subtle.
Was it Vegas or Calgary?
Probably both, realistically. I remember in my head Vegas doing it a lot. But yeah, no. NHL players are assholes. They will absolutely try to make it worse. Kane's hard to say. Raymond looks like a shoulder to me.
Yeah.
Just because I know when my shoulder exploded and I got back into it after, man, subconsciously you avoid contact.
Mm-hmm.
You know that any bump could be devastating, and it doesn't have to be a big one. And he's starting to get over it now, but his first few games back with Raymond, you could tell he did not want to get bumped, and understandably so if it is a shoulder.
Yeah, the team does a whole closed room debrief on how to take two-handed swings at the ankles, and they also bring up a guy from the AHL called the Ankle Destroyer 3000. Like, that's why. Yeah. Kane, with the way he crashed into the boards, like, just guessing, it could just be some core, like a core injury, like a cracked rib, or
I've sneezed and like pulled an abdominal muscle.
Yeah.
So yes, at his age, anything is possible.
Yeah. All right. On that note, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast. Thank you all so very much for tuning in. And thank you to the sponsors of the Winged Wheel Podcast. You may have noticed for the past little while, we've had these Detroit Red Wings JP Yzer's bottles on the table here. So huge shout out to JP Yzer's for sending these things along. As the Red Wings skate into their centennial season, fans now have a unique way to celebrate beyond the ice. JP Yzer's, the official Canadian whiskey of the Red Wings, is re-releasing its limited edition Detroit Red Wings 10-year-old Canadian whiskey bottle, originally launched in 2023 to honor 100 years of Hockeytown. It's available now across Michigan and inside the LCA. This collectible bottle is more than just whiskey. It's a fan experience featuring Red Wings branding, a nod to the legend of the octopus, and a chance for fans to raise a glass at home, at tailgates, or inside Little Caesars Arena. $24.99, and it's a keepsake that connects fans to a century of hockey history and tradition. And you can see these are sweet-looking bottles. Very brave of us to leave that in front of Brad this episode.
Yes.
I'd say, yeah.
Yeah.
Good thing it's so early. All right. And thank you to everyone else who supported the Winged Wheel Podcast. Patreon.com/Winged Wheel Podcast if you want to go above and beyond and support the show and join the Dub Dub Club. And if you want to help us out, but you're like, hey, Patreon's not really for me, that's totally okay. Wherever you get your podcasts, if you want to subscribe, be it, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube on your computer or your TV screen even, if you subscribe, if you leave a rating or a review or a thumbs up or a like or anything like that on the show, tell a friend about the show, all of those things really do help us out a ton. To our name level supporters on Patreon, we cannot thank you enough. You're the reason the show happens. Arjun Shankar, Akefer, THL Champ, Samuel Soderholm, Icon, Glenn Brabham, Rain Dano, Below Average Ball Hockey Goalie, Sea Lion, Matthew M. Rice, Darb EQ, Bingo Bango, Hassam Al-Qassem, Asher Killian, Kaylin Wood, Alex Toger, That's What I Appreciate About You, Derek Enstam, Matt McKay, Andy Hardcore, Sam Bankson, Citizen High Five, R.A., Aaron Hudson, Admiral Matt S. of the Cheesebag Navy, The El Cato, Stephen Ortlieb, Jonathan Miller, Give Blood Fight Probert, DJ Denton, Carl, Britannia Naluski, Jay Gollum, John Ingalls, CB55, Connor Scovey, Adam Louisa, Adam Rose, I Miss Pew Suter, Steve R., Hockeytown Matt, Mr. Kuzi, Chaotic Monkey, Craig Kibble, Iser Playing Stan, Clip Clop Nene, Podgy713, Now I Have to Learn How to Click on a Macintosh, Griffin Not From Grand Rapids, Marty, Kazi the OG13, Jeff Pridemore, Eric Hill, Butts Carlton, Best James Bond, Beer League Legend, Alec, Mark Hernandez, Slim Smitty Cards, Grand Rapids Girly, Anna Sleeman, William, Mike Asher, Chris Black, August, Brian Munn, General Andy Bohan of the Cheesebag Army, Quaz, Lonnie Zone, Dylan Larkin Trade Sacrifice, Showing Your Mom My Full-Size Snickers, Matt Keeler, Linda Hull, Coin Dogs, Connor Leighton, As Good As It Gets, Jeremiah Adobo, Josh Yelton, Brad Simmons, Darren Fick, Bex, The Hodag, Baseball, Basketball, Wiener Dog, Short Sports, Commander Ben Bear, The Cheeseback Space Force, Sandin-Pellikka's Pet Pelican, Griffey Boy, JM Rhapsody, Frank Stanley, Rosie Posey, That Other Guy, Pucking Puck, Carl Thames, The Hat 123, Stephen A. Aaron, Corey Prida, All Motor No Hands, Gene Sullivan, Grepsky, Roy Mudbutt, James Pridemore, Upernadian, Drop the Puck, Eric Nance, and Stanislavski, Jim, Bellingham Masterballs, our good friend Wings fan in St. Louis, Scott, Johnny Page, Lucas Raymond, Cops, Bubba Gup Lip, Trent Thoreau, Evan Beckner, Return of Jambo, C.E. Hayes, Finney to the Rafters, Jacob Marsh, Falkness, Fight Night at the Joe, Axels, Sandy Pelican, and your second favorite patron. Thank you all so very much. We'll talk to you Wednesday.
Thanks for tuning in to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Be sure to visit wingedwheelpodcast.com, where you'll find links to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll also find ways to support the show, like Patreon, official podcast merchandise, and more. And don't forget to follow us on X at WingedWheelPod, at Ryan Hanna, WWP, at Brad Crisco, and at Hockeytown Evan, as well as Winged Wheel Podcast on Instagram.